I was already standing when he said it. "You're outdated. We're done here," the CEO hissed. I nodded. Understood. That was the moment the retirement trust activated its voting rights. But the first betrayal didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened over dinner, with vodka sweating on the table and laughter I was never meant to understand. They invited me because they thought I was harmless. The table was long, polished, heavy with food and expectation. My wife squeezed my knee, too tight, too rehearsed, and her family slipped into Russian like a locked door clicking shut. I smiled, nodded, counted breaths. I had lived in Moscow for 8 years. I'd learned silence there, learned how men reveal themselves when they believe they're unseen. They laughed, they toasted, they spoke freely. My mother-in-law leaned in, voice oily with certainty. "On все еще думает, что мальчик его. Настоящий отец приезжает каждый месяц." The fool still thinks the boy is his. The real father visits every month. My father-in-law snorted. "Он будет растить чужого ублюдка вечно." He'll raise someone else's bastard forever. I poured myself more vodka, let it burn, let it steady my hand. For a moment, grief tried to stand up inside me. I kept it seated. I'd loved my wife, or the version she curated. I remembered the early days, her laughter sharp and sincere, the way she held my arm like an anchor when we crossed streets, the way she said honesty mattered, the way she asked me to trust her family. Trust is a currency. I had invested heavily. The signs had been there, a calendar that didn't add up, monthly conferences, a child who didn't carry my eyes or my quiet. I told myself love wasn't a math problem. That night, Russian turned it into arithmetic. Pain became a plan. I lifted my glass and looked at my mother-in-law. "Vy pravy," I said calmly. "You're right." Silence fell like a dropped plate. I continued, perfect Moscow cadence, no accent to save them. "Но есть одна ошибка. Он не будет растить его вечно." But there's one mistake. He won't raise him forever. Faces drained. My wife's hand slid off my knee. I smiled because smiles are masks, and I was done hiding mine. I didn't confront my wife that night. I documented. I watched. I verified. Surveillance isn't romance, it's discipline. I pulled travel records, hotel logs, a familiar name visiting monthly, a pattern that thought it was clever. I didn't cry, I prepared. I met with a lawyer who spoke softly and charged dearly. I amended trusts. I separated assets with surgical patience. I arranged a paternity test through channels that don't leak. Results don't care about feelings. Then I turned to work. The company had been mine in all but ceremony. I'd built its scaffolding, secured its financing, structured the retirement trust as a shield. For employees, I told the board. For myself, I knew. 76% of the shares rested there, dormant, obedient, waiting. The CEO liked to talk about vision. He confused noise for power. I waited for him to make it public. He did. "You're outdated. We're done here." Understood. By Monday morning, the board convened an emergency meeting. The trust exercised its rights. Votes were counted. Chairs scraped. Voices cracked. Someone asked the question that mattered. Who just fired the person who owns 76% of the shares? I watched through glass as the answer arrived like a winter front. The dinner came later, a second invitation, an apology disguised as tradition. I accepted. This time I didn't drink. I placed the envelope in the center of the table. Paternity results, travel receipts, a timeline that read like a confession written by accountants. My wife reached for it. I stopped her with a look. "I know," I said. English now. Simple. Final. Her parents protested in Russian. I answered in Russian, calmly, precisely. I corrected their tenses. I corrected their assumptions. "The trust owns the house," I added. "The accounts, the cars. I've already filed." My wife cried. It sounded genuine. It didn't matter. The real father didn't come this month, or the next. He never would. Consequences have a way of thinning schedules. I stood, buttoned my coat, looked at the child, innocent, blameless, asleep in another room. I'd set a fund, not because of blood, because of decency. Justice isn't cruelty, it's accuracy. I think about that first dinner sometimes, about how they laughed, about how easy it is to confuse silence for ignorance. The CEO sent a message I never opened. The board sent minutes I didn't read. Power doesn't need acknowledgement. It just moves. Betrayal taught me something clean. Listen longer than you speak. Let people tell you who they are. Then believe them. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't spill a drink. I didn't swing a fist. I smiled. I nodded. I poured vodka. And when the time came, I spoke their language.